Hello and welcome to the You Know How to Live show. My name is Kate Hammer, and today we will have not one, but two guests with us, Victoria and Marcus Ford. Victoria and Marcus Ford run the prepfordwife.com, where they share home life, DIYs, and classic style from the sunny locale of Cary, North Carolina. Just this month, their kitchen was featured in Country Living magazine. And today, we are going to talk about how they've managed to balance running their decade-old and highly successful blog with working full-time and rewatching Harry Potter films. Now, wherever you're listening or watching from, I'm so glad that you're tuned in and hanging out. I hope you're ready for my favorite combination of things, hopefully a bit of entertainment, and of course, some takeaways to improve how you work and play and do all the things you do in between. Please take a moment right now to subscribe, follow, leave a comment, or give a 5-star review so that we can stay connected. And with that, let's bring in Marcus and Victoria Ford. Hi, Victoria, Marcus. Thanks for being here.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved meeting you both. So I actually got a chance to meet the Fords at the Northeast Coastal Creative Conference in Newport, Rhode Island in late September.
What a mouthful. Yes, it was wonderful to meet you as well. We liked you so much. We were like, let's do it again.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yes, we had such a good time. I felt so lucky that we were able to not only enjoy the conference together, but do a couple of fun things, like, get some lunch together with some
Yeah.
friends and things like that. It was really nice to get to know you, and I knew, when I was getting this podcast rolled out that you would be so fun to have on.
Oh,
Especially because, I mean, for anyone who wasn't there, Victoria was a panelist and she was awesome on stage, but also talking to you two as a couple and hearing the story of how you met and all of that, I was just like, oh man, they're the dream team.
we absolutely loved you when we met you. It's so much
Yeah.
fun because for conferences, it's always like, yeah, of course, like the meat of the conference is fun, but it really is like the connections that you can get behind the scenes that are really the part that make it
Yeah.
worthwhile. To just like put a real live human with a voice
Yeah.
is always really
Yeah.
nice. That's our favorite part.
Yes, absolutely. And that part that we kind of all crave, the true behind the scenes, you get that on overload at a conference. You really get to understand where people are coming from and like what happens when they're not on camera, which is, 99% of our lives, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's my favorite part of that as well. I've got a running joke that I'm chronically nosy. And so to see like behind the scenes and like see the little like ins and outs is truly my favorite part. Yeah, it's fun.
I love that. Yes. Okay. So I mentioned that one of the things that you shared is how you met each other. And I do want to jump into the blog and how you balance that with your work and all of that. But can we just start out with the golden nugget? Because this is just like the world's most enjoyable story. Would you be comfortable talking about this topic, how you met?
I will turn it to you.
Oh, will you?
Mhm.
I feel like you always turn it to me, and then you're like, "That's not what actually happened."
Okay, so I will.
Yeah,
kick
we'll
us
start
off.
now.
So,
Interject if I need to.
yes, so we've been together for the last 12 years, I want to say, and we met the third day of freshman year at a pool party. Is that
Yeah.
right? Yeah, we met at a pool party. For Marcus, apparently, it was love at first sight. For me, not so much. At this pool party, Marcus was kind of sitting with his friends, and he's like, "You should come and sit next to me." And apparently, I just said, "No thanks,"
Yeah.
and just kind of went about like the rest of my day.
Totally embarrassed me in front of everybody. It was just like,
It just to me that it
God.
was embarrassing. This
Yeah.
is the bold-faced lie. That was not my intent, but apparently that is what happened. But apparently it turned out fine because we're married, so it's okay. You won. It's good.
Yes.
It's good.
Yes, that was the very beginnings of like us together, like meeting each other. But I think later on, I was like, no, I have to get Victoria's phone number because I saw her earlier at like another event. You know, they have these welcome events when you first get to college, and like I'm pretty sure everything like kind of like blurred around her, and like I was like, oh, like that girl is really beautiful. But in the moment, like you don't think that it's like, oh, like love at first sight. It's just like it's just something that happened. I went about my day. I just happened to see her again at the pool party. So I was like, hey, you should come sit next to me. We should have a conversation. She's like, no, don't want to do that. So then later on, probably
Yes.
later that week, I was like, no, like I'm gonna still try to get with this girl. So I saw Victoria walking, and I just started talking to her, and we had a long conversation. And she's like, I was like, I think you're gonna be my wife. Like you're gonna be Mrs. Ford.
Yeah, this was our literal second conversation after the words "no thanks."
Yes, and so she's like,
Yeah, this is some progress, really speedy progress, Marcus.
Yeah. No, yeah. I was like, because I just knew, and so I was like, I think you're gonna be my wife. I think you're gonna be Mrs. Ford. And so she's like, good luck with that. And I was like, why? And she was like, because I don't believe in marriage, and I have a boyfriend. And I was like, oh, I have a goldfish. And she was like, what? And I was like, oh, I thought we were talking about things that didn't matter. I don't care about your boyfriend. Is he here? Like, is he around this place? Because if he's not, then we can continue to talk. It's okay.
And I still married him.
She still married me. Just this cocky kid from Brooklyn,
It's okay. It turned out fine. Like, he's great. We're happy. It's good. Like, in spite of him. So it's okay. We're good.
I mean, I gotta say, like, I don't think many people would hate their spouse saying, I saw this person, they were angelic, and I had to marry them. Like, this isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
It is absolutely what saves the story. So,
yes.
But
Yes. I love it. It reminds me so much of a movie where there's that moment of like tension or, oh, they're not going to get along. There's like a little fight or something.
Oh yeah, that was definitely.
It is an early 2000s rom-com.
Yes.
Disliked each other for the first 2 years of our relationship.
It was but like it was like fate. Like everything, like our PO boxes were like right next to each other. We were the only two freshmen in a upper level like English class. We were in all the same classes because
we were just like the only kids there. So it's like meant to be that we would end up together. So
we went to a southern university where everybody went home for the weekend, and we were the northerners that didn't have cars.
Yes.
So like you walk into breakfast and it's like, who's the only other person there? It was like the universe was like, no, you're gonna be together. Yeah. So get used to it.
Yeah. So it's good. We're happy. It forced us together, and it was a win. So it's good.
Yeah. There was
I feel like even more details are coming out now than the first time I heard the story. Like the mailboxes next to each other. Are you kidding?
Right next to each other. And so like our school didn't have like mail where you could get it in your dorm, of course. I think a lot of schools don't. And so we had like gotten PO boxes, and we must have gotten there around the same time because they were right next to each other. So it's like I'd gone to the mailbox one day to get mail, and he was like at my mailbox. And I was like, "Ooh, how creepy is this?
This guy's like, at
wow, he's everywhere I am."
Yeah.
But
he's everywhere.
His mailbox was right there. So it was like no matter what, we were going to end up together long term. So it's good.
Yeah, but we became friends. Like it just wasn't like it wasn't a smooth beginning. But then a funny thing happened at the school. They had to like clean out the water pipes or something like that. They were servicing.
They like flushed them or something.
Yeah. So everybody had to go home for a couple days because the water was coming out brown. It's like probably don't want to bathe or drink that water. So I told Victoria, I was like, hey, look, I'm going to go visit my grandmother for a couple days so that I can, bathe and drink water. And
that old thing.
Yeah. So she was kind of like, well, you gonna leave me here? And I was like, you could come, like you can come with. So she came, and it just so happened to be my family's family reunion that weekend. So
oh my goodness, way to jump in. Hey.
Victoria met my mom's entire family.
Whole family in one fell swoop.
Yep.
And so,
knock it out.
As infants when we first met. Now they're like full blown adults at this point.
Yeah.
And so, it was like all of his family at one time.
Yeah.
Yes, we like to get it done over here.
You do. Actually, this is kind of like a running theme, I think, because you do. I mean, it's constantly completing projects and really like in the midst of so much more. So you have jobs outside of your creative pursuit.
Uh-huh.
You have a lot that's going on that you have to balance in order to keep productivity in both of those areas.
Mhm.
I mean, it's quite a lot to juggle, and I think it's a curious thing for many because we like this idea of having hobbies or creative outlets, but there's always that question of how? Like, how
Yeah.
do we find the time? How do we even know what we wanna do? As adults, it's like, gosh, like, am I allowed to have personal interests? Like, what does
Yeah.
that even look like? So, I'm imagining you get this question from time to time from your readers, but what is your advice for someone who wants to have some kind of creative outlet or some other component in life beyond their work?
I think we're given different advice here, but I
Yeah.
think my advice, time and time again, is just start.
Yeah,
I find that
that
the
was gonna be
hardest
mine.
part. Look at that.
That was gonna be
We
mine.
do agree on things.
Just start.
Just start.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good you are when you
Yeah.
first start, because I think a lot of the times, like this idea of perfection and this idea of like what
Mm.
it should be and what other people have as it comes to what our creative outlet is will hinder us from just beginning. Start.
Mhm.
You want to paint? Go buy yourself a dollar store set of brushes and a set of acrylics and take that day and do it, because no matter what, time is going to pass and you may as well have it
Oh,
pass
yeah.
leaving and living like a really full and productive life.
Yeah.
And it comes absolutely from a place of privilege. I recognize that we have more time than most and that we don't have children and that our jobs are like willing to flex with us and that we really have this creative partnership that we're able to maintain without wanting to like scratch each other's eyes out in spite of that story we just gave. And so it comes from like all of these places of disadvantage. But
Yeah.
truly, just start.
just
It doesn't
start.
matter if you're good that day or if you have a photographer, if whatever your creative outlet is,
Yeah.
you need to start. And
Yeah.
once you get over that hump, like if you start again,
Yeah.
keep starting. If you take a break, it's okay. The break is not like the end of this world. Like you can start anew whenever you're ready. And you
Yeah.
really do have that level of control over it, because the awesome thing about a creative outlet is it's a creative outlet. No one's holding you to it.
Yeah.
You're not beholden to the idea of it. It really is yours for the taking.
Yeah.
And so that's
Mhm.
always my recommendation, is kind of just like get up
Yeah.
and make it happen. Doesn't have to happen a lot.
Mhm.
Doesn't have to happen consistently.
Yeah.
I think people think like because people blog for a living that there's this level of consistency you have to maintain. You don't.
Mhm.
You're just doing it for the sake of doing it.
Mhm.
Then whatever tempo you choose is
Yeah.
the right one.
Is the right one. Yeah. I mean, we like kind of live by this thing where it's like you will never be good at something if you're not willing to be bad at it. So it's like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so you have to be willing to be bad at something before you're going to be good at it. We're like huge Harry Potter fans, and
Yes.
there's a scene where he's like,
Yes.
he's training the other wizards and witches, and Harry Potter's like, every great witch and wizard started where you are now. So
Yeah.
so whether you want to be really, really, really good at something or just decent at it, those beginning moments are actually the best and most fun parts, because they get you to the point where it's like, okay, I learned from that mistake. Moving forward, I can, I'll adjust.
Yes, the early parts are always my favorite of
Yeah.
any activity. It's
Yeah.
my favorite when you were learning to watercolor. It's my favorite when you're learning to blog, because there's something really beautiful and just like really kind about doing something for the sake of doing it without an audience.
Yes.
I remember when I
Yeah.
blogged without anybody watching, and it was the literal most fun, because if I messed up, nobody really saw it. If it was like
Yeah.
a typo, it's okay. I'll go edit it later and no one would have seen it.
Yeah.
There's this level of freedom that comes with like nobody watching that it doesn't get old. So the beginning stages are really like, go for it. Like try the thing that you want to try, no matter what it is. Like you've got time to get good at it. You've got time to get the gear and get the whatever you need that accompanies the activity.
Yeah.
But at the start, it really is just a joy to do.
Yeah.
And so I always recommend folks like just going for it.
Totally. When we're on these platforms like Instagram as a consumer, we are seeing all of these examples of someone performing, of exhibiting what they have to offer, whatever it is. And so it gets us into this frame of mind of, if I have a creative pursuit, there has to be a sharing component. And that's not always true.
Yeah, right.
No,
Exactly.
not at all. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Some of the best creative things you do will be for yourself.
Yeah.
We are folks of a science background, but also just have this innate sort of creativity that we live by. But it still is like that creativity that kind of gives you like life and breath at the end of the day. And so even if you're doing it just for yourself, like I would have decorated my home the way we decorate our home, even if there were never any eyes that would see it. And if we never had a visitor, those are the best parts of creating, or doing it just for yourself and for the love of. It doesn't get old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do either of you have anything that you pursue outside of what you share?
God, we have so few hours in the day with the amount.
Yeah.
That's a hard one, because we try to share our lives as it goes. We don't really like share anything that is not something that we would normally do. But if it was something that was important enough to share, it's probably been shared.
Do we pursue anything outside of what we share?
Maybe cooking for me.
Yeah, I guess so. I was going to say Marcus does like 95% of our cooking, and it's good and it's beautiful, and the internet never sees it because I am actually a really lousy wife for a person who has a blog that's named after like being a wife. Marcus does like most of our like traditional like home type activities, and that like he feeds gorgeous gourmet meals, and no one ever sees it because I neglect to photograph it because he does the photography.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
We're good. Like if you're looking for someone to feed you, like Marcus has got your back. It's not usually me.
And it's like, and it actually connects back to what we were talking about, where it's like the fun part of being creative is almost the part that you don't see, because like there's like what I present to Victoria or anybody else that I'm preparing food for looks totally different than like if I'm just making something for myself. Because in the moment, like when I'm making it for myself, I'm just trying to make sure like the flavors are good. But when it's like somebody else, it's like I want to make sure the flavor is good. I want to make sure it looks edible. I want to make sure that like it wasn't something that you just had 2 days ago or that you're not allergic to. So there's like all these things that you have to think about. But when you are just creating just to create, it's like I'm almost purposely trying to mess up the food, because I'm like, I know not to do that again. Like, don't put peanut butter and sardines together, because that probably would not work. Yeah.
No creativity.
I'm even a little upset that you said it at all.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Well, Victoria, what a treat. That's awesome.
Yes. It is the best thing about this relationship. When I first met Marcus, I told him I cook, and he said that's okay because I cook. And I was like, great. Yeah. So here we are. I do cook, which he found out years after we were already together. But now I don't do most of it because he's already been locked in. Yeah. So cooking is a Marcus.
It's easier for me.
It is.
So I'll pick that up. That's how we tend to choose who does what.
And he gets more joy out of it. Like I find that Marcus enjoys himself cooking. Like he's got like his like TV set up. Like he's got like the iPad set up so he can actually cook and watch while he does it. For me, I'm like, this is a burden that we have to feed ourselves yet again today. Like 3 times every day. But Marcus like really enjoys it. He's got like a knack for it. The timing's right. Like with me, it could be 45 minutes and we're still without food. So it's him.
It's okay. Thanksgiving.
I love that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Thanksgiving's on me. I will cook Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner. Those are the only times where I will tap in for sure.
Yeah.
So yes, for those I will tap in and I will do dinner.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you do the whole turkey?
We don't do turkey. In fact, we do everything except a turkey.
Yeah.
We've got like a chicken going. It's the South, so we do ribs. We'll do like fried chicken.
Yeah.
We'll have like macaroni and cheese.
Maybe
so we'll
pork shoulder.
a pork shoulder. It's totally a Southern thing.
Yeah.
We'll do everything essentially but turkey.
Yeah. One usually it's never like a bunch of people. Yeah. So like we don't ever need a bird that big. But two, it just always like has like a juicier flavor. Yeah. People actually eat it.
I was going to say turkey is not. That's not a hot take.
Except for the turkey wings. Turkey wings are delicious.
Turkey wings are delicious. Turkey. Yeah, I was like, but anyway, that's my hot take for Thanksgiving.
Can you see we're already thinking about
Yeah.
Moved on to
We moved
Thanksgiving.
We are currently in planning mode. This
Oh
is
yeah,
good. Oh, yeah.
definitely.
Well, it's great that you've kinda come to this natural balance with tasks at home because,
Yeah,
man, that can be a real point of tension, and for things to just kinda, like,
yeah,
happen to fall into place, what a
yeah.
gift.
We're pragmatists at heart. Like
Yes.
with if there's nothing else about I think our relationship, it's always like we want to be the people that do the thing that makes sense.
Yes.
So we're not people that like
Mhm,
add unnecessary plot to our lives. We're not people that like just
mhm.
do things just for the sake of doing them. Um, as far as like where it's like not going to feed some sort of creative
Yeah.
appetite. We're kind of like, all right, like we'll look at something, we'll discuss it between ourselves, and it's funny because like people, our friends will be like, you guys communicate without even like talking. Like they'll ask us a question, and Victoria
Mhm.
and I are like look at each other, and then we'll like give
Yes.
them an answer. They're like, how did you do that? How did you not talk but
Mhm.
figure out like exactly what it is?
Yeah.
But we've just spent a lot of time together and worked together in so many different ways. We've worked as lab partners. We
Yeah.
worked at, and we've been in student government together.
As you say,
Yeah.
you were my first coworker, like,
Yeah.
in the adult world.
Yeah,
So,
so it's
we
like,
find ourselves.
Oh,
yeah,
you are literally a movie, like, this is all just
yeah,
We are,
amazing.
we are
Yeah.
chronically together. I'm
Yeah.
sure it is like codependency at this point.
Yeah.
However, like we work so seamlessly together, it
Right.
just makes the most sense
yeah,
for our lives and kind of the way that we live our lives.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
for us at this point.
yeah. We enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, can you share a little bit about what it is that you do during the day at work outside of this creative life?
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I
Mhm.
almost always work in HIV. I will change roles, but always in some semblance of HIV medicine, either for a nonprofit, for the government. It depends where I'm at the time. But truly, like my heart is at the heart of that work. And so it
Mhm.
changes based off of what season of my life that I'm in. But it's a very different sort of um, business from the business of influencing. And I love it that way because
Yeah.
while I might enjoy influencing, it doesn't give me something to feel strongly about, with the exception of connecting. Like, I don't ever feel
Mhm.
like shirts and t-shirts will change the world, and maybe they do for some people, and for those people I always recommend it. Like if you feel strongly
Mhm.
about like you've got like a project on your heart that you really want to do, like I'm always supportive
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
other people, but it's never what like feeds me, fuels me, and wakes me up in the morning. So
Mhm.
I always end up back in the business of HIV of some kind because I really do have a heart for like prevention and intervention.
Mhm. Yeah.
Awesome. So, what role do you play within that?
Yeah, so it changes depending on the year. This year I'm
Yeah.
a marketer. Will I be a marketer next year? Maybe.
Keeping things open. Okay, awesome. What about you, Marcus?
Yeah, so I have like a very windy.
Yeah.
Currently, I just teach a lab at our the university we went to. But actually, so at the beginning of the pandemic, Victoria, I had a business with a friend.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Victoria was kind of like, "You're putting a lot into this business.
When you could be running
When you
ours.
could be running the Prepford Wife stuff. You could be, you
Mhm.
know." We had discussed not discussed. The plan was always for me to go to medical school. And it still is. That's still the plan. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I'm 35. I can't do anything else with the rest of my life. Because if you talk to somebody who's 55, they're like, you're young. You know, we always have this
Mhm.
like thing where it's like,
Yeah.
I'm old at the age that I'm at, and it's like, no, the people that are 20 years older than you are always telling you how young you are. So that's
Totally.
yeah, that's still the plan. But at, we my partner and I were having issues at the office, and the
Mhm.
business was growing, but just like there's a very specific way that I see how business should be run, as far as
Mhm.
like how you treat your employees, what you provide to your customers, and
Mhm.
um, anything outside of that is kind of like unacceptable to me. So
Mhm.
Victoria was like, well, you're working 60, 70 hours a week. You should probably just step away. So I stepped away, and then boom, the pandemic happened. So right,
Wow, interesting timing.
yeah,
Excellent
yeah,
timing. Maybe like
Mm.
2 months
2 months,
before.
yeah,
So it could not have
yeah,
been better timing.
yeah. I planned on stepping away for about 2 months, just checking in when I needed to, but 2 months and then kind of coming
Mhm.
back. But that's right when the pandemic started to ramp up. They were talking about closing businesses. So it was like I hadn't been back to the office since. And that business has since closed. But so that's kind of where I am right now. So it's kind of like probably the majority of like the business side of like what we do as far as the blog. That's under my umbrella, but I don't really look at it as like work. I just look at it as something that, it's like chronicling our life. That's how we started, just so that if we ever had kids, that they could be like, oh yeah, like our parents were always squares, like we were
being Mary Pattern doing science.
We were always ourselves.
Yeah, we tell our siblings, like, look, when we have children, you let them know that we were always like these like staunch.
Yes, we didn't morph into. We didn't
like turn into
we
parents.
have always been like. We were fun when we were young.
No. But yeah, so that's where. So I kind of do the business side of Prepper Wife at the moment, but the goal is to go back to school at some point. When things slow down, I feel like I stepped away, and then Prepper Wife kind of just kept going. And it's like, all right, well, if I have to go to another state to practice, study for a couple of years, I don't know what we're gonna do. So
yeah, I mean, it seems like brands are just knocking down your door trying to collaborate. So I'm sure you have a lot to manage.
It's been more than it used to be. We find ourselves taking on the ones that are ones where we say, like, would we spend our own money on this? And then passing on the ones where we wouldn't. And so it's been a really fun experience getting to meet brands. I think whenever people are talking about brands, they're talking about like the brand at large, but there's a human behind that email.
Behind there,
And so it's been fun to like meet the people behind the emails and like build that sort of connection. So it's been nice.
Yeah, I always think that is cool because like there will be somebody there will be someone that reaches out to Victoria and won't tell her that I represent this brand or whatever, and she'll share something like, oh, I love bees or whatever, and they say, oh, I actually work for such and such company, I'm connected with them, I've always loved what you did, how about I connect you with our marketing people, and we get a lot of stuff that way. So it's like, if Victoria wasn't the type of person to stay up and answer DMs when she could, or like just be a genuinely nice person on the internet, it's like you don't know who you never know who you're talking to. And so I enjoy that part. Like we recently got something about a play that we love, and the person was like, oh, I represent the marketing for this play, like would you like to go and share? And I was like, of course, but we would never know unless we shared those things.
Yeah. I mean, there's a great lesson in that that can be applied pretty broadly. That whole feeling of, we can make a lot of assumptions about who we meet and who can potentially like do something for us. But if we hold a different posture, then opportunity is pretty limitless, and it feels very different too.
Yeah. We tend to walk the world with the understanding that like everybody knows something you don't. So that's why it's so weird for us when people come up to us and they're like, oh, we love this, and how do you do that? I'm like, we're just living our life. Like we don't think that we can do anything that anybody else couldn't do. It's just so happened that we met, and I have a certain set of skills. Victoria has a certain set of skills, and those skills align. But if Victoria really wanted to, like, and this is probably doesn't bode well for my job now as as somebody that kind of helps run Prepper Wife, but she can do this without me.
I'd like to not.
Yeah, she prefers not.
She'd like to not.
I'd like to not. There are not enough hours in the day, honestly, to get it all done, which is okay because there's always tomorrow, hopefully. But yeah, I'd rather not if we can help it. Right. But yeah, I find that when we're kind of going about the business of our business and kind of living life day to day is truly when you meet people. Like it's never with an expectation of like getting something out of it or meeting a person for this thing later on. Like sometimes it really is just the joy of meeting a person and treating them as an individual and kind of going from there. I am by nature an introvert. And so I have to treat every person I meet like an individual or else it just like really freaks me out. Yeah, it's working well for us so far.
Wait, say more about that. What do you mean?
Yeah.
really freaks you out.
So people always assume that introverts are shy, which is not true because I'm not shy. But I am someone who gets my energy from like deep, meaningful conversation. I find myself skipping right past small talk and right to like getting to know people. And some of that could be like I've been in the South too long, but then some of it is just like the nature of the way that I prefer to interact with people. It's like straight to the things that matter versus like kind of that initial surface level type engagement. And so whenever I meet people, I'm bypassing all of that like surface level stuff because it makes it a little easier for me in that interaction to kind of get energy out of it versus it feeling like something where like, oh God, like this is work. And that's across the board. Like even if I'm at work, like I don't want to feel like I'm at work. Like I want this to be like another portion of life. We are awake and working far too much out of our lives for us to not enjoy it when we can. So if you can, you should. And so that's kind of the way that I find myself enjoying it is if I can kind of get the energy I need out of every interaction, no matter who it is.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great posture. I love that.
Anyway,
So considering all you do, would you say that you have certain strategies or routines that allow for all of this to work?
Not a one.
No. Yeah.
Not a one. And I think that's actually what's working for us. Like,
okay. Say more.
Yeah. So I'm not who was I telling that to? Oh, my best friend. I was telling her yesterday that I literally don't have a routine for everything. There is nothing that I am consistent on. Like I don't wake up the same time every day. There is no level of consistency. Yeah, no, not at all. If you kind of track me on the internet, there's no consistency. There's no day where I'm on. There's very little like time where I'm consistently on. And it's harder and harder as Prepford Wife gets bigger. Yeah. But it's not my job. And that's kind of nice. Like there's kind of a real nice, like organic way that you can live your life when you're not doing anything at the same time every day. Yeah. And so, we have no strategies. We have no consistencies. We have no plan.
But you've got to remember that like, this isn't like, we're not like living off of this. Like, it's just, I feel like if it was somebody that was like, all right, like I would like to take this very seriously and I want this to be like what I pay my bills with every month, then you kind of have to have a strategy. But we are always on the non-planned plan. Yes. Like where it's like, and it works for us just because we don't know why it works. Actually, it's almost like you'll see like a lot of girls, like they'll be like, yeah, like my husband told me the corniest, they gave me the corniest pickup line, but for some reason it worked for him. Yes. You probably heard the line before, but for some reason it worked for him. And it's like a combination of different things, timing, the cologne he was wearing, his height, whatever it is, or lack thereof. We never want to tell people like, oh, you should do this consistently because we don't.
We don't recommend anything to anyone. Oh, that's funny. I was once upon a time a strategist. And so for that, I did need to do things when I needed to do them. And it's such a part of my brain that actually does work, but that I don't use in the slightest. We tend to be a luck favors the prepared kind of folks over here, where we're taking things day to day, and it kind of leaves room for these like organic sort of interactions here. And granted, like we're easygoing, but we're kind of rigid in our personalities. Like we are very like a structured people in that we have the things that we will and we won't do. Like there are, like I think of like our blog, there are certain, not brands necessarily, but certain avenues where we're like, no matter what, we are not doing that. Like this is what we are not going to do. Right. But then that leaves this like really wide open, beautiful pool of things that we will do. And the same is kind of like strategy and content planning, where it's like, okay, we know for ourselves, like here are the things that we will not do within like our business at work. We won't do this in our business with Prepford Wife. Yeah. But then it's like wide berth of things where then you can give them an option. And so our strategy is the non-strategy. Now, would I recommend that to someone who's looking to full-time blog? Yeah. Probably not, but it's kind of what works for us in that when we can, and when we can't, we can't. Yeah. And some of it is just not being beholden to the internet. Yeah. Like, we don't want to be, we want to be here in our home and in our lives, and we don't want to be like tailored down to the computer or to the phone all times of day.
Mhm.
So when we can do it, we can do it. And when we don't, we don't. We kind of make no apologies for the time in between for ourselves, at least.
And I think too that it goes to say like that shows like the value of sharing who you actually are versus like having to portray this person or this lifestyle that you don't actually have, because then it's not work anymore. Like obviously, if I take a picture of our living room, if there's like a pair of shoes on the floor that doesn't make the picture look right, I'll move those most times.
Yeah.
But like I don't have to like paint the living room, put up curtains, put a lamp there, like do all of these things because we're just sharing our life. And so when you already have those things in place, you don't necessarily need to follow this regimen of like, it's like telling a professional athlete that they need to have a regimen for working out when they're a professional athlete. They're working out every day. Like they don't have to add that, that extra work.
That's a really interesting example, actually.
Yeah.
We're super old school though. It's like bloggers who used to like leave their house, take a photo of what they were wearing that day, and then that's kind of what hits the feed. Like we kind of live our lives in that way. Yeah. Still, where it's like, all right, today, like snap the pic, we're going about our business. Yeah. I don't think it works for everyone, but it's kind of where we are still.
And we have, again, we know that we're really blessed to lead a life that is already beautiful and shareable, and all of our friends. I think that's another reason why we started doing what we did, because a lot of our friends would be like, "You guys are really interesting," or "You guys need a TV show."
You are.
So it's like, all right, let's try it out.
I don't think we're that interesting. I think it's a bit of that like luck favors the prepared thing again, where it's like, oh, your home is beautiful. And it's like, well, yeah, but every time we bring something into the home, we try to bring things in that are beautiful. So it's its own like self-fulfilling prophecy. And so we kind of live this way as well.
Yeah. Well, this idea that to have a strategy means there's like this very specific checklist.
Yeah.
Like when I'm listening to what you're describing to me and I'm thinking about, okay, well, is that a strategy or what would I call that? It's like you live by a very, very clearly defined set of values.
Yes.
You keep firm to your priorities. You have a way of sharing that you've established that you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And so you're able to move through all of that naturally.
Yes.
And so I think like how somebody could take that and interpret that for themselves is like understand why you're doing something.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that I don't think about often. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I do think about like the why behind why I started and why we do. So our why is rooted in kind of two things. So we've got a why of like, we realized there were no photos from the first 5 years of us being together. And so some of it was so there are just 5 years where there are like 2 photos of us and that's it. And we've been together long enough for people to not have had smartphones necessarily. Like there weren't really iPhones when we got together. So there aren't a ton of so there aren't a ton of like photos of us in our first couple of years. So we were like, for ourselves and for like, the rest of our lives, we will do a little bit of a better job documenting. Mm-hmm. But then kind of the more we documented, the more we realized that there wasn't really anyone who looked and felt like us in the space that we kind of reside in on the internet. Like there are not very many Black preps. There are not very many Black preps who are married and kind of lead their life the way we do, but we know they exist. We have seen them, we know them, we love them with our own eyes, and we know they exist. And so we kind of just wanted to carve a little corner of the internet out for that little community who looks and feels like us and kind of wants to see themselves reflected. Mm-hmm. And so everything that we do kind of ladders up to that in a way. I don't think we think of it day to day because it's so much our true north that I literally forgot about it until you just said it. Yeah. Like it's so much kind of ingrained in like what we do and what we share and who we are available and online for. We always welcome other people into our little corner of the world. But when I think about like the messages that really like resonate and mean the most.
Mhm.
Always the ones where people are like, I didn't know that someone who looked like me could exist. And so that really is our due north and our why. And we think about it so little because of how much we kind of aligned ourselves with both of those things, that I always forget that that's kind of like at the heart and at the strategy of what we do.
Because you're not checking yourself. You're just doing it.
No.
Yeah. Should I do a better job of tracking us?
Yeah.
Well, probably. But do we? No, not really. We're kind of just like we've gotten into a groove at this point, I think.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we love it. We're here for it. There are so many fans, and obviously you guys are operating in this very authentic and pure way. It's very easy to see. If you're not already following Marcus and Victoria, both of them, you absolutely should be. I'm going to put their Instagram handles in the show notes for sure. But let's move on. We have a couple of quick segments to do before we end our time together. So let's do the this or that, where you will let me know what your preference is between two options.
Okay.
We're ready.
We're ready.
Yes. And and maybe some you'll want to answer together. Maybe some you'll have very different views. We'll see.
Cool.
I feel like we're going to be on two opposite ends. What we'll see. We always surprise ourselves. So.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. All right. So again, it's just your personal preference.
Sure.
Read a book or listen to a playlist?
Read a book.
Listen to a playlist. Yeah.
I am who I am, or I'm always evolving?
Ooh.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. I think I'm always evolving. Go ahead.
I think you are. I think you are always evolving. Like yes, you are always evolving. I am who I am. I am who I am. There are photos of me at 5 looking exactly as I do now, and like a little and there are like things that I say now as an adult where I would have said them at 10. I'm still growing, but I definitely am who I am. Like I am at my core who I'm gonna be.
I think that's part of my personality is to always be. We had a friend over not too long ago, and she was saying that's one of her favorite points of like my personality is that I'm always looking for like the next better thing to like include in our lives so that we have a better life, so that the people around us have a better life just by knowing us. And so I think that is
you're totally adept.
I'm a grower.
You'll what a nice balance to have someone like moving forward and someone grounding. It's
necessary. It's necessary.
Marcus is a dreamer. I am like
Victoria is very much like it flips every once in a while.
It does.
Where it's like Victoria may want to do something that's like ambitious, and my goal is always for like if Victoria is like I want to do this thing, like my goal is always to like figure out how to get it done. But there are some times where I'm like, can't do that right now, but we'll do it like we add these two things and mix this up and bring these people in and we can get it done that way. But it changes. We're not all the way one way, but for the most part, I'll say I'm the changer and Victoria is like,
I'm here.
she's the sane one.
Okay, awesome. All right, next one. Rewatch favorites or search for a new show?
Rewatch. Yeah, we are.
Rewatch.
Yeah, we are rooted in comfort, I guess.
Yes. You run the risk that you're going to hate the new
things. It's like, or I can watch them alone.
Very risky.
70th time.
Yes.
And it'll be great. I know that that's going to be a great movie.
Is there some, I obviously have to ask, is there some particular show that's like your go-to show? Uh-oh.
I just want to put a disclaimer that I am notorious for watching bad TV. I know. Victoria, I am who I am.
Wait, what did you say?
I will watch bad TV over and over.
Oh, bad TV.
Like, if it's bad, I'm watching it. So I am currently in the process of watching Teen Wolf. I recognize that plot makes no sense half the time.
Mm-hmm.
I will watch One Tree Hill over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I watched Vampire Diaries a number of times, and I recognize that it could be better, but I'm still watching it. Real Housewives, I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Rewatch.
Yeah. Victoria. Well, yeah, she is the queen of what's the dance movie? What are those? Step Up. She'll watch like Step Up. Be like, but again, she knows that like
I'm aware.
She's no like movie critic or whatever. She understands. But yeah, and then the thing about like rewatching stuff too is like you catch things sometimes that you didn't see. Like there are things in Harry Potter movies. Like we had a Harry Potter wedding. Like we Harry Potter in this household, and we still catch things that like you know.
Oh, I never saw that before.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then where we are in our life in that moment makes us feel different about the thing that we are rewatching. Yes. Like I feel totally different about Home Alone now as a person that's probably going to have the next few years versus like the kid that watched it back in the 90s, you know? So,
totally.
Yeah. So that's why I think that we're always like, let's rewatch that thing and see how we feel about it in that moment.
Yeah.
That is so true. I watched Home Alone with my kids for the first time a couple of years ago, and I remember thinking, like, you definitely don't leave your house without a child. Like, that's not okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, like, the police don't, like, not respond. And, like, the airline doesn't say, like, oh, like, none of that is plausible.
All the nonsense that you've totally fed into as a kid.
Yes.
You're like, this is not.
Yes, when you're a kid, it's a great adventure. When you're an adult, you're like, I want to call the government on these parents. Like, oh my goodness, they're just wow.
But when we were watching it a few years ago, like it's like, look at those drapes. Like, look at the colors now. You know, it's just like
it's like all like red and green in the house.
Red and green. Yes. Everything is red and green.
It's so well styled.
Yes.
Like, that house is incredible.
Yes, we love that. Like,
it's incredible.
Old 90s, like for resale values, we will not put it in our house. However, we understand if we ever get like a cabin or something like that, it's going full
some really good dated
kitschy,
yes.
I'm there.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
That's so enjoyable. Awesome. Okay, next one. The more the merrier, or more fun with fewer?
More fun with fewer.
More fun with fewer.
That's
as few as possible.
You said what now?
I said as few as possible.
As few as possible. But the thing, so like our parents, like when we bought the newer this house here, they're like whenever they come, they're like, so when's the barbecue? And we're like, hopefully never. Like hopefully never. Yeah. Like they had this fantasy of like us having like all of the people like around the house and like
but we're the fewer people. We're like the fewer, so we can be the more the merrier.
Yeah.
Like we can do a few people at a time for literally ever. Like we can have a friend this weekend, have a friend next weekend, have a friend next weekend, and it inevitably turns into the more the merrier. Yeah. But boy, you got to stagger that.
Yeah.
We the whole house of people.
Yeah, we love like one of our if you ever talk to a friend or a close friend of ours, you know that like we're the friends that it's like, look, like come to the house, go pick a guest room. We don't even have to talk. Like we'll see.
We don't even have to talk.
Like, and it'll be perfect.
It'll be fine. Like use this as your house hotel.
Yes.
Where you can kind of like get away and feel like this is a safe space for you. And
yes.
And that's it. But the whole like Great Gatsby, like like have a party with that sounds terrible. Yeah. That sounds like our worst nightmare actually.
Yeah. I feel like publishing companies are going to reach out to you and be like, we have writers that really need to finish their books. Can they please stay with you? We hear it's a very quiet environment.
Join us. We will take them.
Oh my goodness. Okay, last one for this section.
Okay.
Here for humor or please be serious?
Ooh.
Here for humor?
Really?
Yeah, I'm always happy to be tickled. Like, I'm serious enough that I will take other people around me as entertainment.
True, yeah. Yeah. I yes, I'm a humor person.
Yeah.
Because I think that I don't really like when people take themselves too seriously. I was never like, even though I wasn't like popular, but I was somebody that like could interact with any person.
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
janitor, the the kid in the corner that just wanted to read books, the athletes, whoever.
Mhm.
And so it was like I never liked the kid that like took himself too seriously.
Yeah.
I actually went out of my way to make that kid feel uncomfortable
Oh my
because it was
I
like,
can see that.
yeah, it was like, you're not cool.
Yes.
You're not cool, bro.
Enjoy yourself. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's definitely humor.
Yeah. The humor one is probably it.
That is too funny. Okay. So the next segment is just rapid fire. So I'm just going to ask you some short answer questions. What's something that you've read lately or that's a longtime favorite that you would recommend to others?
Ooh. It's a kid's book, but I always recommend it. I recommend The Giving Tree because it's a lot like Marcus said with the Home Alone, where at every stage of my life, I feel a little different about it.
Mm-hmm.
So as an adult, I think that tree needs boundaries. Like she needs solid boundaries. But as a kid, I'm like, oh, look how giving she is.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And mine would be The Giver. Like I read that back when I was in like 6th grade, but that's one of my favorite books, and it talks about how this kid like sees the world in a different way, and he's special because of it. And even though he thought that he was going to be like, I'm going to be an engineer, or I'm going to be like given this role because he saw the world in a different way, he was given this like super special job that he would not have otherwise gotten. So I think The Giver is my favorite.
All the giving books.
Yeah.
Yes. If it has the word give, giving, or giver in it, it's highly recommended. Yes, we like it. Okay. Something you've watched lately that piqued your interest.
Watching lately. Whew.
I mean, we just told you we're rewatchers.
You know what? You know what is one that we watched that we like talked about for a long time is is it Married at First Sight? No, which was the one where they like it was the game, it was a reality show where they got
where they don't see each other?
No, we saw that one, but there's another one where they get matched by
Oh man, your mom would be so disappointed in us.
Is it not Married at First Sight? It might be Married at First. It might be Married. Yeah, I think that's what it is. But it's a show where they have these experts that match couples based on their attributes and what they expect to have in partners. And I think like those brought up some like really thought-provoking conversations between, just because like we work, but then there's times where we don't understand why we work. And then we watch other people and they're like, oh, that's the reason why we work. Because people are crazy.
Yeah.
I think that's one that
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I watched The Harder They Fall, which is that that like cowboy
Western,
black Western that came out recently, and it's based off of real people. The Western has nothing to do with real people.
Yes.
But I did go hunt down the ones that I didn't know, and so I'll give that as a chance to
that one was cool.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah. That one.
Yeah. Couple of good ones. I like it. And I haven't seen that, so I'm gonna write that down.
Oh yeah, The Harder They Fall. Yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
If you like a Tarantino style movie,
you'll
like it.
Well, it's not as gory as
but I level set that as like baseline.
Yeah,
it's like Tarantino.
Yeah,
like the feel of it.
Yeah,
the feel. Yeah,
yeah. Oh well, then I also have to ask.
Harry
Potter special coming up, the reunion, 20 years.
Yep.
Are you going to do this?
Yes, absolutely. Gonna spend the entire day.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we'll have our siblings join us, but if they don't, then we'll like let Harry Potter weed them out.
Yes.
Yes, we are absolutely doing it.
Oh yeah.
See you next year.
Love it. I saw the trailer, or whatever, the promo, I guess, because they don't really have a trailer, today, and just about died. So I'm with you guys.
Yes, awesome. I was very excited. I was like, let me mute myself on this call so I can have the moment that I want to have now. Yes, I'm excited.
Yes, it's going to be
Awesome. Okay. Do you have a favorite thing, a product, an app, or a tool, something that makes your life easier that you go to day after day that you would recommend to a friend?
Ooh. A product, an app, or a tool?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
I'm getting full use out of Apple's Notes pad. Like I'm using it the way that they designed it to be used. If I'm like falling asleep is like when I have my best thoughts. And so I will quickly lean over and kind of like type into it.
Yeah.
And so I have all of these notes of things that I should have remembered during the day, but did not have like enough breathing room to remember.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm keeping it pretty simple here. Like Notes is really doing it for me.
Yeah. I like it.
Oh, if I have like
nothing. You're simplifying
everything that I use.
Yeah, like you're simplifying your own day.
Everything that I use, like you know what it is, Kate, is that I used to be a terrible shopper. Like terrible shopper. Like I would buyer's remorse was like a thing that I used to go through all the time. Like I would spend money on something and get it home and be like,
sorry,
why did I buy this thing? Like, or it didn't last long or whatever. And so I think in the last like 10 years, which is crazy, but like in the last like 10 years, I've like really learned to like hone in on what I purchase, like what I use.
I was going to say the Instagram save folder, because I am using those with a level of efficiency that is out of this world. Like if people are not using the Instagram save folders to categorize, exactly, like, to categorize stuff, I don't know what they're doing. Like I have a folder for like things to buy for Christmas. Like I've got a list for like Marcus, and I've got a list for everyone else. I've got a folder of things to buy for myself. So when holidays come up, I can like shoot it out to people like, here you go. You don't have to ask for a list. It like Instagram save folder
like meals to
make, like quotes, like videos I need to watch later when I have a moment of free time. Like, Instagram saved.
That's a good one.
That's got my vote.
Yeah.
That is a good one. In fact, I'll tell you what. I have an Instagram folder for people I would like to interview. So obviously, you guys are in that folder.
That's a great idea. Oh, that's such a good idea.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with folders on Instagram. It took me a while to get there because I think they've been out for a couple of years, but now that I'm using them, I'm with you. It's super, super helpful.
Yeah. It takes a second, but once you're off to the races, it's like, oh great. This in my cake folder. I'm gonna put this in my shoe folder. It's a win.
You have a cake folder?
I do have a cake folder. I don't cook, but I will bake. And so if I see a beautiful cake, then I will save it like, oh, I'll go back for that cake later.
Yeah, Victoria is I'm pretty sure that's one of the reasons why she decided to marry me, is because my great grandfather owned a bakery, and this was during a time and in a country where Black men did not own bakeries. They did not, and so it was like, like this is in my blood.
I love a bakery.
Yeah. Her grandmother was a baker.
Yeah.
So, but I'm terrible at it. But I'm not good at chemistry either. So.
Oh, that's not true. You make a mean pound cake.
My pound cake is, but it's because it's like a pound of sugar, a pound of butter,
it's
a pound of flour.
Anyway, we're distracted.
Sorry.
Sorry. We're
I mean, I'm here for this. I'm really enjoying it personally. Oh my goodness. All right. So just a couple more questions.
Yeah.
What is something that people would be surprised to learn about you?
Ooh.
I don't really have very many surprises. My entire life for the last 10 years is on the internet, give or take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh. Yeah. I was like, nothing I want to share. I guess it's like common knowledge now. I've got this like Sour Patch Kids type thing going where I'm like 95% everything is joyful and everything's sunny. And then I've got like 5% my family won't let me play Monopoly anymore because I flipped the board once.
Yes.
I think that's physically like
upended board flipper.
Yeah. So if you see Monopoly on our channel, I'm not playing. I'm just taking the photo that day.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you shared that.
For every day where I'm like fun and friendly, there's a day where I'm like,
wow. Yeah. She flipped the board. We were playing. This is like right before we started dating, like for real. Yeah. And we were playing with this other couple, and Victoria is beating everybody. She's winning. She's got the property, and so as the game goes on, I come back and I start getting property. I'm getting property taken from her, and so she like. I think the turning point was when I got Boardwalk and I put a hotel on it, and she was like, "Forget this," and she flips the whole board. And I was like, "You are a sore loser." I come to find out later, the friend that we were playing with was like, "You do know she was cheating, right? She was taking money from you, and you didn't even know." I trusted her so much, and she was stealing money from me.
I've gotten better in my age,
she
but
doesn't.
we don't really want to play a board game.
Yeah,
with me.
Victoria
It's not
Victoria
fun.
is not a.
It's not fun.
I don't know. Like,
I don't think you have one.
I don't think I have one.
Yeah.
I will say, like, when growing up, I wasn't like the nicest kid. Like, I feel like now, like, I give off this like teddy bear, huggable, like gentle giant kind of thing. But I think growing up, I feel like I didn't really know like who I was.
Yeah.
Like you think the world should be this way, and the world isn't. And so it's like, all right, like I have to like force myself to be somebody that I don't necessarily know who that is.
Mhm.
And I met Victoria, and Victoria was like, hey, like you can't be that way because I can't be with a guy that's not nice.
Yeah.
So you need to be nice. And so
Perfectly nice now.
yeah.
Double done.
Yeah. But other than that, I don't have any secrets.
That's really a wonderful thing, though, to
Yeah.
have your partner influence you for good. I mean, I think we all have ways that we might desire to like tweak our person for better or worse, but really, like, best case scenario is we help each other grow
Yeah.
in a good way.
Yeah.
And that's what, and even when we talk to our siblings, like when they, because they're still single, we got married younger, so like our siblings are still like dating and they're not married yet. And but when we talk to people that they bring around for us to meet, it's like, you know, like, what are you doing to make our sibling a better person? You know, and what are they doing to make you a better person?
Yeah.
Like you should want to be your best self for your person. And I can say, I feel like my family can say that like I'm honestly a better person because Victoria is around.
Some of it is you're an older person. Like you just grow up sometimes. So.
But I don't want to say it that way because like you still got like 45-year-old guys running around here like
doing God only knows what.
Right. It's like so like, let's not put the age on it.
Fair.
But don't sell yourself short, sweetheart.
You're ridiculous. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So that's our rapid fire question.
Yeah.
Bless.
We don't speak rapidly.
Okay. Well, it's far more enjoyable that you don't, because honestly, like the one word answers are a lot less fun anyways. No, this is great. Okay, so I just have one left though.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, finish this sentence. You'll never see me
in flip-flops.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen you flip-flop.
Have you?
Yeah, like when you at Campbell, like when you go take a shower.
Yeah, I was 18 and I needed to shower. Yeah, flip-flops are not good for your feet. They're not good for like the number of infections they could pick up on that foam. Yeah. You're welcome. Run with this. So yeah, I'm not a flip-flop gal. Sandals, maybe. A flip-flop, never.
You'll never see me being rude to anybody. Like I don't. That thing where like people are like rude to like waiters. Or like people that feel are like below them in whatever way. Like I've never understood that. Like my parents will tell you every fight that I've gotten into as a child has always been because I'm standing up for somebody else. Yeah. Like Victoria used to be mad. I'm the guy that like when I see people on the side of the road, like looking for like a ride, like a hitchhiker, or like I'll go like out of my way, like when people are like panhandling, like I'll like go out of my way to like give them money. But like you'll never see me like ignore like
Marcus has never met a stranger and Marcus has never met somebody who needs him who he's not willing to help.
Yeah.
And so yes, I will co-sign that one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, you'll never see that.
Now my flip-flop answer is shallow. Yes.
I mean it's not it's honestly
if the flip-flop doesn't fit, yes.
Yeah.
But also, like, Victoria, you're helping people. I mean, like you said, people could be catching all sorts of crazy infections and diseases, and you are preventing that.
Google it. You're welcome. It's the least I can do in this life. It's just help us all.
Yeah.
No to a flip-flop for me. Just
yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. So if you get one takeaway from this episode, I hope it's that.
Yes.
You know,
Move to leather. Move to hard soles, my friend. Hard soles.
It's okay. You can even slide them on.
Yeah.
They have Birkenstocks now.
Yeah.
That are like rubber.
Yeah.
I mean.
Oh yeah, antimicrobial.
Yeah, there you go.
Welcome. Join us. Yep.
You have been joined. I'm joined up.
Welcome to the team. No flip flop for you either. Yeah. So that's what I got.
All right. Well, thank you so much for spending this time. This has been a riot. Really fun.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
we so appreciate it. It was wonderful to spend time with you, Kate. It was wonderful to meet you in the first place.
Yes.
So this was absolutely a joy.
Yes.
We were thrilled.
And I think that I also am, while we're getting recorded and this is going to be put out, I think that everybody needs to push Kate to be the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel next year for Halloween.
Oh my goodness. Speaking of rewatch, we were rewatching that and Marcus was like, I should message Kate and tell her to be Mrs. Maisel for Halloween. Yeah. And I was like, okay. Okay. He was like, doesn't she look like Kate? I was like,
yes.
Maybe?
Like the vibe. I'm telling you. You can pull it off.
So yes, we'll see you next October 20th.
Yes.
And we'll remind you of this moment so you can go get your costume.
Yes.
Let Marcus tell me
I don't even think she needs I'm pretty sure.
She can just get a dress.
I'm pretty sure she has a dress.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I did tell Marcus that I would give it a watch. And I plan to. I did a quick dive on it to figure out who this person is and like what the similarity is.
Yeah.
And from what I gather, she's pretty quirky and and I enjoy some quirkiness, so I'm here for it.
Yes. Fantastic. Her clothes are fantastic.
Yes.
The apartment's fantastic.
Yes.
It's just such a funny show. Yeah. Oh my goodness! I hope you enjoy it. If you don't,
it's okay. We're not the we don't.
It's okay, but I hope you enjoy it. It's so good.
The aesthetic is there, Kate. Like
awesome.
The aesthetic is there.
Yeah, totally.
I love it. Thank you so much again for being here. Really appreciate it. It's been a blast.
Yeah, likewise.
Yes, absolutely our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Those two are an absolute blast. You can find a link in the show notes to connect with the Fords. You can follow them on Instagram at PrepfordWife and Marks Ford. That's MarcsFord. Know you. But whatever you do, don't start another home project without first stopping by their website, jam-packed with tutorials at PrepfordWife.com. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed your time with us today, please share this episode with a friend. Then subscribe, follow, leave a comment, or give a 5-star review. Season 1 of the show will include more chats with top authors, experts, and influential personalities. We will be serving up simplified applied psychology, habit theory, and quality of life tips and tricks that you can put into action right away. Until next week, I'm Kate Hammer, and you know how to live.